Okay, our next step at this point is to take and remove all of the blue tape and begin scraping all of the binding and purfling. Now, before you start just tearing this off, you want to be real careful as you pull it off to make sure you don't kind of pull it diagonally so that you don't just pull it all in one shot and run the risk of actually pulling that binding off. Okay, so just kind of take your time. This will take a few minutes to get all of that off. But the beauty is this starts to reveal all of your handiwork putting that binding and purfling on. Okay, so our next step, you can see we've removed all of the blue tape at this point. We're getting ready to scrape, but before we do, just take a set of end nippers and just come in, trim off those stray pieces. Okay. Scraping. On the top, you have solid material, so this isn't a big issue. Let's talk a little bit about technique. A card scraper, really a squared piece of metal that has a small hook on it. I'll try and hold it so that my 3 fingers end up being almost a depth stop, and then this finger is right behind where I'm actually scraping. Okay, I see some people, some of the classes, they're out here scraping. If they dive in just one time in that corner, they're going to put a scratch that's going to be irreversible. So, you know, always make sure that that corner is on the outside of the guitar as you're scraping. And it's really about force and pressure, not just, you know, massaging it, so to speak. Really kind of lean into it. You'll see a nice chip comes off of this as I do it. Okay? So that's what you should be getting. And again, you're going to just continue to do this until you've gone all the way around the guitar. And you know you're there when the card scraper no longer can take any more off. And at this point, it's getting real close on that section there. So that's pretty much done. So we're going to work through all the way around. Really see binding and purfling detail, how nice it looks once you start scraping. Once you do some sanding, it'll really start to shine up pretty nice. So I'm going to continue around, get this done. I'm going to show you the sides. There's a couple of things to bear in mind when you're doing the sides. And you shouldn't have to scrape a whole lot of material off, but particularly on the back and sides. You have to remember that this is veneer, so you don't want to scrape any of the wood if at all possible. Now the other thing too, we compensated as much as we could when we attached the binding and purfling, particularly on the back. You may have had to deepen the slot a little bit. So if you are sticking out quite a bit, you have to realize that if you keep scraping and scraping, then this thickness begins to change. So if you scrape quite a bit off this area in here, and you're not careful and you're not watching this dimension, this can get really thin, and then it starts to widen out to the full thickness where there might be an area that you didn't scrape as much. So you have to kind of cheat that a little bit if you can, but again, it's all visual, so you know, really kind of be watching the different angles as you're scraping. When you're working the sides, you really want to have the back done first. So In this section here, I've already done the top, so I could scrape the side in here now. Really, I like to hold this completely flat. I am holding it up so that you can get a better visual as to what I'm doing. But you can see I've only taken off just a little bit, and that thickness, even in that binding all the way around, is not changing, because I'm trying to be real conscious to maintain that thickness all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to work on this for a little bit. Show you the back real quick. Works really just exactly the same. In fact, it's a little bit easier. You only have just the binding. There's no purfling on the back. And again, just notice I'm only scraping the binding material here. I'm not scraping the back at all. Okay, so at this point, we've scraped, and I did a very small amount of sanding. I really don't even recommend that you do a whole lot of sanding at this point, because there's still several steps to go. Gluing the bridge on, you'll get a lot more handprints on it. Just bear in mind that, again, the back and the sides are veneer. You want to go sanding that, you know, here, and then you get to another spot, you sand a little bit more, and sand again. Next thing you know, you sand through your veneer. So all I did for sanding here is just really to kind of feather the binding in. I just wanted to make sure everything was flush, and at this point it'll need one more final sanding for finish. So we've made great progress at this point. The only thing left to be done really on the body is to go ahead and glue that bridge on. The other thing that you can do at this point is take the tapered reamer and follow through nice and straight, and just continue. You can see I have a piece of blue tape on here, so there's quite a ways to go, but if you just continue to follow through, that'll get you ready to set your end pin. This piece here. Okay, so outside of that, the body is done.